And welcome to our September back-to-school edition of Sports Highlights, our program since February of 1992. Greg Bickaveris, glad you're with us. Our show is an interview show, and it runs on Mondays at 7 a.m., 2 p.m., and 7 p.m., weekends at 9 a.m. on Cox Cable 47, 517, and all over social media, including NNPSTV.com. When you think of September, you think of football and, of course, my birthday. But let's talk to our good friend Doug Pereira. He's the head football coach at York High School for several decades. Good to see you.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you.
You've had quite a legacy there, a lot of success, and a lot of former Newport News coaches have coached at York High School. Bob Pierce and Bob Schmidt come to mind.
Yes, sir. Legendary guys. Coach Schmidt especially, a great guy. You know, and of course, his daughter is our principal. So he still comes around, still has a little motivational speeches for me sometimes, and I really enjoy talking to him.
Talk about the parents there, the family. It's a really tight-knit community there on game day especially.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the entire Bay Rivers District is pretty good about the fans in the stands on Friday nights, but especially York County, especially York High School. We have a very special, just a whole atmosphere at our school these days, and our principal, Shannon Butler, has a lot to do with that. She really pushes for that high spirit, and so it's fun. And Friday nights with the stands packed out, we enjoy that for sure.
And you push that energy during the week, and it builds up on game day.
Well, that's natural. I mean, that's part of the game of football, and you know, we do talk just like any other school about protecting our field, protecting our house, and getting out there on a Friday night and making sure we're taking care of our business as much as possible.
Which is a unique situation. Of course, York High School plays pretty much at their own home field, but so does Grafton and Tab. They also play over there as well.
Right.
So when you're playing them as an opposing team, you're still at York High School.
Yes, correct. And that's the unique scenario that we have with those two schools, and it's a great rivalry with both of them, especially Tab. We've always said that they are our biggest rival. But on a Friday night, if we're the away team, all we're doing is changing our jersey and switching sides of the field. Mm-hmm. And so is that an advantage? There are some advantages to that for sure.
Right. And, of course, you've had players that have come back to you and been on the coaching staff. You've seen people go to college. Yes. You've seen great rivalries at Pocosin as well. Mm-hmm. So it's really something for everyone.
100%. And Pocosin is another great rivalry. Enjoy it. I actually like playing games at Pocosin sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know, so we're blessed with regards to the rivalry element for sure, and the schedule that we play each year. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And football is one big network. I mean, you've worked with Creighton and Comenius, who played for me, one of the premier coaches of all time, and Dennis Kozlowski at Bethel High School, who won 3 state championships. Mm-hmm. I thought Creighton's Bethel team, his senior year, was the most talented team I've ever seen, bar none. They beat Hampton that year and lost to them in the regular season. They played them non-conference in regular season. But you guys, like you said, you've had great rivalries. You're good friends with Danny Dotson. Yeah. You scrimmage Woodside every year. Yeah. They're actually closer. Woodside and York High School are closer than any Newport News school are, geometry-wise. So It was a great rivalry even as a scrimmage.
100%. They're the closest school to us no matter what. And they're right down the street. So we started the scrimmage about 12 years ago, and you know, we treat it as a game each time, and it's fun because both teams line up ready to go.
Right.
There's no fooling around.
And at one point, Gloucester, which is in the Peninsula District now, used to be in the Bay River and York River District back then, as it was called. That's a good rivalry.
Yes, I mean, it's become one for sure, and we call it the Battle of the Bridge because you know we both have to cross the same bridge to get to these two stadiums. And so we enjoy playing the game to start out the season each year with Gloucester for sure.
Talk about your turf field. You guys are innovators in that. Newport News just started in 2024. What are your thoughts about it? How has it evolved as far as the makeup, the composition of the field?
Well, the field itself is awesome. I absolutely enjoy it. When I was getting hired, I came from Essex High School in Tappahannock, where we used to have to paint the field each Thursday before the game. And when I was asking them, you know, who paints this field, they told me, you don't touch the field. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of hours. But I will tell you, it's kind of neat. I coached the very first game on the field turf in 2007, 24 hours after it was finished.
Wow.
And that was my first game. And we walked out on a Saturday afternoon and played the game against New Kent. And then I also, they pulled the turf up 2 years ago and put the next, new set down. I coached the very last event on that turf before they pulled it up. And that was our win in the playoffs against Booker T. So
I know Heritage really enjoyed playing there. They played against Tab, I believe, in the postseason,
Yes.
and that's become a pretty good rivalry as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we've had Phoebus come to us, from the from the peninsula once and play on our field, and they really enjoyed playing up there too. It's a special place.
It really is. And let's talk about that, because for a long time when I grew up, it was AAA, AA, single A, and you would never see York playing Hampton or Bethel or Phoebus. Now, back when Charlie Hovis was coaching Tab, they were in the Peninsula District for a couple years,
Yeah.
and they would play Bethel. But Bethel and Tab were on the same road, technically, Big Bethel Road. But what are your thoughts about that? Because when people look at it like, okay, York High School, great season, they worked so hard, what is the reward to play a perennial state power in Phoebus? Your thoughts on that?
Well, Phoebus is extremely good, and we all know that. And they've knocked us out of the playoffs 7 times, I believe it is now. And so that's a tough thing to talk about, but it's also a tribute to how good they are. And with regards to the divisions and this and that, I understand why the VHSL shifted things a few years back. It was kind of needed, but at the same time, a school like Phoebus, I think that they enjoyed playing at Division 5 at that time, and I think that they probably would prefer to be back there. I'm not speaking for them, but I'm assuming. But it just is what it is. It's part of the game. Every year you have somebody you've got to figure out how to beat, and for us, it was them all those years.
And that's the one great thing about football. It's once a week, and you got time to process before you play the next opponent. But let's be honest, Grafton's different from Phoebus.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's the bottom line. It is.
Exactly. All right, you're moving to Division 3. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, we've been in 3. So we went into 3 back in, I think it was 2011. We've been there, and Phoebus has moved out of 3.
They're 4.
They're 4. So, last year, the teams, we unfortunately did not make the playoffs, but the teams that did make the playoffs had a pretty tough road to get through themselves. And of course, Lafayette did a great job, getting up to the state championship. So the representation from the Bay Rivers District every single year is pretty solid in the playoffs.
Now, when Kaz was at Bethel back in the heyday, when he won state championships, he used a wishbone.
Yep.
Danny used Dotson, of course. Woodside, from our games, from doing his games since '96,
Right.
he did the wing T all the time. You've got a special offense. Talk about it.
We're predominantly a single wing, and I'm kind of an old soul in a way, in that I do enjoy running the football. I do enjoy some old school stuff. I grew up, as a kid watching Herschel Walker in the I formation, Bo Jackson in the I formation at Auburn, and teams just run the ball, 50, 60 times a game. And, I don't get me wrong, I like to throw the ball. I like to score. We're going to do whatever we have to do, but the whole concept of deliberate power and going right at somebody and having the ability to try to control the line of scrimmage is definitely what we try to do at York. Really enjoy it.
Talk about some of your assistants. Some have been with you for a long time.
Sure. We have a guy named Carl Roberts who's been with me from the beginning, and he was actually on the previous staff before that. I think he's been coaching at York High School for like 25 years or something like that. It's crazy. And so he's been around forever, does a great job. My line coach, Dan Reed, does an awesome job for us. The most important guy probably in the coaching staff with that offensive line. And then on defense, I have 2 guys that really share the role, and it's a guy named Jack Battle and Ty Dennis. Ty is actually the former quarterback at York High School back in his day, a number of years ago, and did a really good job. Jack came over to us from Tab once Coach Matt Lawson moved on, and he's been a welcome addition to the staff. And I've got a number of other guys on the staff that are great guys. Ryan Weaver's my head JV coach. We brought him over a number of years ago. Does an excellent job running the JV. So I'm blessed with the guys that I have. I've been blessed for years with my coaching staff.
What's your specialty? Offense?
Yeah. So I started out actually more defense back in my early days as a defensive coordinator. but I've always been an offensive mind at heart. And so a few years back, I was able to take the role as the offensive coordinator. And that's when we went full bore, single wing, and kind of the spread was our offense before that, and we're a little more single wing these days, and enjoy it.
Right. So what are your goals for this year? To get back in the postseason, I would assume,
Sure.
but to evolve in the postseason.
So the goals are fairly simple. Last year, we were in a complete rebuild, and literally to the point where we didn't even realize how much of a rebuild we were in walking into the season. We had a team that played very hard, but they severely lacked experience. And so we struggled when adversity would hit us, and you could see it in some of the games. So this year, the goal is these guys now have more experience. They're still young, but they have a lot more experience. They're talented players. And so now it's, we got to believe in what we can do.
Yeah.
And we got to line up on Friday nights and just be the athletes we are and play the game we can play.
Because that was very difficult what you went through. That 20 season never happened until the spring of 21. Yeah. You didn't have a great team that year. You didn't make the postseason. But in 21 and 22, you rebounded. And then, of course, 23 was a tough year. But that was a lot of football crammed in.
Yeah. So the 20 thing, that should not count for anybody, except for Lafayette because they won the state championship.
Yeah.
Let them have it.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, we played Smithfield, and the next Monday find out that there was a COVID thing on the Smithfield side, and we had one kid with COVID. And I'll never forget sitting in the nurse's office with the athletic director, principal, and the nurse, and watching guys in practice on the security cameras saying, okay, he was near that guy for, it's up to 5 minutes. Okay, he's out. And just the nightmare of all of that. So that season, it was more or less, it was like practice.
Yeah.
And then we had the team we needed in 21. We were very good.
Very good. Well, look forward to your 24 team. All the best to you and your staff and the parents and everybody involved with York High School.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. We're blessed.
And he lives in Newport News here, folks, and good friends with Danny Dotson. Will we see Danny Dotson coach again as a head coach?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not speaking for him, but
right.
He needs to, in my opinion.
Football misses him. All right. Want to thank our guests so far. Of course, Doug Pereira. Stay tuned for our next guest on our September Back to School show, Sports Highlights.
You're watching NNPS TV. Catch sports highlights on Mondays at 7, 2, and 7, and on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 a.m. Visit us online at nnpstv.com to view all your favorite episodes. NNPS TV, watching education happen.
Hi, I'm Ethan Flinkenbeard, and I'm a student in the NNPS Telecommunications program. Enrolling in telecom has helped me expand my knowledge and skills in filming and broadcasting. I've learned skills such as camera operation, editing, directing, Take One, studio operation, and live remote production. I'm also a paid intern, working various sporting events, school board meetings, conferences, and talk shows. And I'm so thankful for the opportunities that telecom has provided me with to help me get my career off the ground.
And welcome back to our second segment of our September Back to School show, talking to John Krikorian, the men's basketball coach at CNU. First, folks, I want to say, may the memory of Verba Jones be eternal. She was a longtime employee of the Newport News schools as well. I want to thank our first guest as well on this show, Doug Pereira, known as Coach P for York High School's football team. John, good to see you.
Greg, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, congratulations on your daughter going to UVA.
Yeah, exciting times. I got Lily, my daughter, valedictorian at Mentsville, really exciting, heading to UVA. Catherine, a year behind her, and she'll play field hockey and then go on and do whatever's next for her. And then I got Jack, my 11-year-old, who's heading into middle school. So exciting times here in Newport News.
And got to mention your wife, too, a big promoter of Hilton Village over the years, whether y'all live there or not, right?
Yeah, no, Hilton was home for a long time. We
Right.
moved to Riverside, but my wife Emily is a local real estate agent, realtor, and she's killing it. And it's been really fun to see her grow her business here.
Oh, yeah. Before we talked about the upcoming season as we're in September, you had some great camps this past summer. And, of course, I know you look forward to the camps in 2025.
We love camp. It's one of the things when I arrived in 2010 that was really important that we get our camp game off the ground. It's a great way, really, for two reasons. One, gives our players a chance to come back in the summertime, those that maybe don't have a full-time job and work, get some money, work,
Yeah.
and they enjoy being part of the community. But the second and more important part is having our players involved in the community in that way. So now we'll have 300 to 400 kids come out through the summer through our camps. These are kids that are coming to our games during the season. Their parents are coming to games. We see the kids at the local Food Lion, Harris Teeter at the mall, and hey, Coach K, or hey, to one of the players. And so I think through the camps, we've really been able to connect to the community more so than we probably could otherwise, and we really enjoy doing it. It's a really fun time of year.
And they can see you and the staff and your former players in a more relaxed atmosphere and not as stressful. And it's great to see the former players coming to the camp, and giving their engagement to the younger players.
Yeah, we love it. It's a huge part of our culture and what we do, and our incoming guys will arrive early in the summer and work a few weeks at camp, and they get ingrained in the culture as well. So it's been really good to us.
I remember going to Wade Mary's basketball camp when Coach Parkhill and his brother were running it. They would bring Jeff Lamp or Gus Gerard back. It was a big moment as a kid to be on your own, to go to the cafeteria. It was a big deal. Let's talk about your team there. Of course, not many coaches that seeing you over the years. Bev Vaughn, C.J. Woolham, and yourself. Quite a legacy there.
Yeah, and Glenn Russell was in there between Bev and CJ, so I'm only the fourth coach, which is really remarkable. And it just goes to I guess the power and the history and the tradition and all that's great about Christopher Newport. It's a place that you want to be.
Right.
And we've been there 14 years and really have loved our time, and we enjoy it, and we get great student athletes, and we've been able to compete on a national level, and we love the community. It's been really good to us.
And people almost expect it. You've won a national championship, of course. You've been to Final Fours. You've been to the pinnacle. I mean, that's quite a success. Not many coaches can say that. You even took on Old Dominion. In a scrimmage, whatever. But it's still. I mean, you are not afraid to play anybody.
Yeah, that was something, when I arrived, I thought was really important, that we were not going to back down. We were going to increase our schedule. We subsequently changed leagues, went to a harder league at the Capital Athletic Conference, and we play a national schedule. And, early on, we took some lumps. Even early in the season, sometimes we'll take some lumps. But, I think that adversity really brings your team together and makes you a little tougher and allows you to grow and learn. So, with basketball, thankfully, at the end of the season, you have an opportunity to run through the playoffs and learn and grow and be ready to play. I'm glad I'm not a football coach, because halfway through the season, you might be done.
Oh, yeah.
But, with basketball, you pretty much, as long as you keep growing, you got a chance at the end to make a run, and that's what a number of our teams have been able to do.
How many players back from that championship team a couple years ago that are going to be on the squad this year?
Yeah, so that was 2 years ago, so not a whole lot. I'd say probably 4. This past year we had 9 freshmen that were with those guys, and a number of those guys played. And so we will have 13 players back from last year's team that went to the Elite Eight, a bucket away from the Final Four. So a great team in their own right. We're pretty excited about this year coming up.
Very good. Talking to John Krikorian. He's a men's basketball coach at CNU, won a national championship, perennial postseason team. And, of course, your staff has been very loyal to you as well.
Yeah, you can't talk about Christopher Newport basketball without talking about Roland Ross. Absolute staple. Everybody in the community knows him. He has been the reason that myself and my family have felt so comfortable here. He's really paved the way for us. And there's just not a finer human being and better basketball mind than Roland Ross. So we're so glad he's still with us.
Yeah.
And he's an integral part of every recruit that's played at CNU for the last 40 years. He's had a hand in the development of them as young men. And I don't know where we'd be without him. I'm so glad he's still with us. And then, not just those guys, but then he helps develop our staff. And we've had some great coaches that have come and gone through, and now they're coaching at Division I. I had a coach last year, Dominic Parker, is now the head coach at Rochester Institute of Technology, a head coaching position. It's a huge feather in our cap. And so now we've just moved up, someone that he's mentored, Quentin Acree. So, it's been a great pipeline for young coaches, and they've taught me a lot, and I'm glad to have been able to help them develop and move on to brighter pastures.
Right, you got a young squad. What I'm really impressed is Virginia players. I mean, you've got mostly Virginia players on your roster. That is very impressive.
We do. For years, all we had was Virginia players. The national championship team only had players from Virginia. This year, we can mix it up a little bit. We got a player from North Carolina and a player from Massachusetts. So, a little unique for us. But, this state is so basketball strong, and especially at the Division III level. You have the ODAC, you have Virginia Wesleyan and Randolph-Macon and Hampden-Sydney. I mean, these are all national championship caliber teams right here within an hour or two that we play. So the competition's fierce, the recruiting's intense, and I think there's a great appreciation in the state of Virginia for this level of basketball. And that makes it enjoyable when we have a packed house or we're playing on TV or whatever it is.
Not the only Coach K was Coach K at Duke. There's a Coach K here at CNU, Johnny Krikorian, the men's basketball coach at CNU. And of course, it takes a lot of time, talent, and treasure to get a successful season. You just don't start the successful season in the fall. You've been working on it pretty much since the spring.
Yeah, the biggest piece is the culture, right? And that started 14 years ago. And the goal for us is to have established a culture that runs itself really with new players that come on and take leadership roles. So the stronger our internal leadership with our team, the stronger our team is going to be.
Sure.
And we're starting to see that year in and year out. We got some great returners coming back. John and Colin Hines are brothers from Norview High School. Jamal Madison, their teammate at Norview. And Christian Wilson from Richmond. These are really our upperclassmen this year, returners, all strong leaders. So we're really excited about our juniors and seniors and the leadership they're going to provide. And that's really where it starts for us. But, there's a lot that goes on, right? Scheduling, that's on me. We got to go get 25 games. And try to do it in a way that puts us on the national map, but also gives us a chance for success, gives our kids opportunities to go places. We've traveled to Boston. We're going to play in the Jay Billis Classic down in Charlotte. We've traveled to Philadelphia and practiced in the Palestra at the University of Pennsylvania. So, providing experiences for our players is something that's really important to us as well.
And all head coaches and business owners are creatures of habit. Do you have a consistency where we eat at this time, uniform, liquids, roster? I mean, a great coach knows who his starting lineup is minus an injury before the game starts. I don't want to hear it. We know it 30 seconds before. You probably already know it. You probably know it the minute the game's over from the previous game. Are you a creature of habit as far as discipline, practice, academics, athletics, activities?
Yeah, so I think habits are important, and we have some that I think are really important to our program, and those are things that we want to pass down, and the things that we don't want to think about. We want to do them second nature. We want those to be our habits, But at the same time, we don't want to be just beholden to habits and lack the creativity that's needed. Because when you get to the postseason, in some ways, you got to lean on your habits, but you have to be able to be open to being creative, because you're going to take on some monsters. So you got to be creative and maybe put a guy at a position he hasn't played all season. Or bring a guy off the bench who hasn't been playing much, but he fits that game and that matchup. Or maybe because you're traveling and you're on the road, you can't eat 4 hours before the game because of the way the setup is. Sometimes all that's provided for you, and so you have to be able to make adjustments. So we want to have our habits, but we want to be prepared in the postseason to be able to tweak some things and to have our guys not panic when things are different. And so throughout the course of the year, you want to sprinkle in some adversity. We eat 4 hours before all the time, but maybe a game in November, I'll mess with them and we'll eat 3 hours, just so they know, hey, if this happens to us later in the year, we'll be fine.
And you could draw from that experience too, because you were at the Naval Academy, you were an assistant coach at the highest level as well. But let's talk about this animal here. Is when you and I were growing up, it was pretty much practice. There were no phones. Now to get kids to go to sporting events in general, when they grew up with their tablets, their YouTube, and their phones, it's different. Is that a challenge for you and Kyle, the athletic director, every year to try to get more people in the seats, young and old both?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's always a challenge to get these bright, hardworking, engaged students at Christopher Newport that we have that are pulled in so many different directions. They're so accomplished. They're so busy doing things that are going to change the world, and to try to get them all to, we have 20 plus amazing varsity sports, right? And so to try not to spread them too thin and have them be able to come out and support our teams. We have Code Blue games that some of our coaches have started to try to target certain rival games, and that's been good for us. But the flip side to the phone is that you can also hit them at a moment's notice too, 2 hours before the game. Hey, big game, top 25 game, and you can blast that out on social media, and before you know it, shoot, you could do it at halftime.
Yeah.
Hey, tight game, get here for the second half,
Yeah.
and you could have 500 kids march into the gym. So, it kind of goes both ways. At the end of the day, the most important thing is that we have a great product, that we play an exciting brand of basketball, that we're getting the word out, that we're providing a family atmosphere for people in the community to come and support these guys and watch these games. The feedback for that's been pretty consistent since we've been here. I think our guys play tough. They give it everything they got. They play a high quality of basketball. Our band, and it makes a huge difference. I mean, we have band, cheerleaders, dance team, and you walk in there and, if you're a kid in the community and you come to our game, these kids, they feel like they're at an ACC game.
Yeah.
And they're right up close, and they're, 10 feet from the coaches and the players, and after the games, our players might come out and sign some autographs. So,
Sure.
we love it. We've had great support since we've been here. It is a challenge, always, in college sports to continue to have people come out when they have so many options. We are going to do some pretty neat things this year. Have some ideas. My wife actually and some others are going to sponsor some events for halftimes and things. We're going to get that word out. We're going to really try to get some people out to see these guys play.
Very good. So, Coach Krikorian, thank you for being on our September show. All the best. Look forward to your season, your camps next year, and the great culture you built at CNU. Quite a winning formula. National champion. He's been a U.S. Merchant Marine, been at the Naval Academy, of course, won a national championship. And the key about his teams, each year they evolve. All the best to you, Coach.
Thanks, Greg. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I want to thank our great guest today, Doug Pereira from York High School, the head football coach, and John Krikorian, the men's basketball head coach at CNU, and much more to the community at large. I want to thank our great guests, our great crew today, Ray Price. I'm Greg Picaveras. Happy September football season, but it'll be basketball season before you know it. We'll talk to you soon.